So, welcome everybody. My name is Catherine with Wedding Team Collective. This is Sarah Lunn with Cultivate Goods. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We are very excited to have you. Floral is such a major part of a wedding, and we're very excited to look at all the different design options you have and introduce them to our guests. So today I wanted to first have you introduce yourself and a little bit about how you got into floral design.
Again, my name is Sarah, and I sort of got into floral design accidentally. I always enjoyed getting bouquets from the grocery store and arranging them for my mom and for friends. And while I was pregnant with my first daughter, I actually was just asked by a friend, "Hey, will you do my wedding flowers?" I don't have anybody to do it. It was super last minute, and I was like, I guess so. And I went and bought flowers because I already had a business in graphic design, and so I was able to get some flowers. And I was on my feet for like 9 hours pregnant, and so if
Oh,
you understand that, like, I was so happy at the end of the day, and normally I would have been like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was on my feet for 9 hours.
exactly.
So I definitely realized that that was a passion. I think at that wedding I just did bouquets, boutonnieres, and some table decoration. So I got into that about 5 years ago, and then about 4 years ago, I decided to officially start Cultivate and incorporate the floral element into my business. So
Yeah,
yeah.
awesome. So we have some really beautiful designs to show people today. And the first thing that we want to talk about is choosing your style. Through weddings, I kind of want to have a base style. It should to combine all of your personal preferences along with venue. I think that's important and the season. So you have listed a couple different items, and romantic garden is the first one. What are some touches about romantic garden?
Yeah, so Romantic Garden is definitely a timeless, classy style. It's one of my favorites, and basically, it's characterized by lush blooms, and there will be greenery in it, and essentially, you're representing what you would think when you walk into a garden. A lot of times, we have like big, beautiful, blown out roses in that style, and just some fluffy blooms. So that one's definitely great if you're in a classic venue, or maybe that's just your style. And
Okay, perfect.
pretty much any color palette works with that. But typically we see more neutrals with pops of maybe pastels and um, some other colors. That's typical.
Okay, perfect. So with that style and with your archway, so for instance, in this image here, it's very full, almost reminds me of the Secret Garden.
Mhm.
So with that style, do you feel like for a backdrop at a ceremony, would an archway, or what are some other ways you can use romantic in a background?
Yeah, definitely filling an arch with lots of blooms and greenery. Even um, like hedges, like filling like a backdrop or something like that, filling that. We've done hanging installations that are just like full of blooms and greenery. You can pretty much do anything, but yeah, we do see that in a lot of arches for the most
Oh,
part.
perfect. Okay, awesome. So the next style that we have is modern, which is one of my favorites, and I feel like doesn't get as much love as it should. What are some parts of modern and some cool touches people can do?
Yeah, I love this modern style, and it's something that I've been sort of cultivating my own style over the last probably 2 years. I feel like this is one that has really brought me a lot of joy. Just seeing a lot of depth and unique shapes, bold textures, a lot of movement. I love to incorporate some pops of bright, beautiful color, or just textures that you normally maybe wouldn't think to add. So in some of the pictures that I have listed under this style, you'll see that. You'll see a lot of like whimsical texture. You'll see like bold lines. So it can be very linear, it can be organic. But yeah, it's definitely a bolder style, but it can come across so gorgeous, so romantic. So yeah, I love that style.
Absolutely. I love the pops of color and that you can really do what you want
Mhm.
while still making it seem cohesive and beautiful. So modern has got a little soft spot for me, so I'm sure I'm
Me
hoping
too.
a lot more people do as well.
I
Our
totally
next
agree.
style is boho, which I'm seeing a lot of lately, and
Mhm.
it's exciting to kind of see that trend come around. And it helps with the photography. I feel like it captures so much depth. So, what are some things about boho and different fun things you can do with that?
Yeah, I think that you're right. Boho is becoming, and it already is, super popular. And a lot of people, when they think about boho, they think about a certain photography style, or they think about pampas grass or things like that. And that definitely is included. But I think the bohemian style is definitely more about like natural textures. There's still there you can still have blooms. It can be a whole range of things. So I've done boho styles, like quote unquote boho styles, with photographers that you wouldn't necessarily think of when you think of that boho style. Very clean and true to color. Think a lot. I see a lot of like cascading elements, uh, a lot of texture, and so it is honestly. I used to think that there was one way of styling boho, but I've realized so quickly that there are so many different ways to get that bohemian flair, and honestly it just depends on your personal preferences. So a lot of my couples come to me and they send me their Pinterest boards and um, even not even wedding related stuff, but their homes and things like that, and I just get an idea of, okay, these are the colors they love, these are the tones they love. It's definitely a very earthy vibe, but it's beautiful too.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that it pulls all the elements of nature in, and
Mhm.
it doesn't need to fit in a box. Boho
Totally.
can match anybody, so that's really awesome. So the next thing that we wanted to touch on is your what the things you really need. So from an elopement to a full wedding, there's a lot of different floral options, and you can do as little or as much as you like. It's up to me, of course. We want the whole thing
Of
filled
course,
with bloom.
everything. Yeah.
Um, but I do think it's important to kind of mention some of the key parts that go into that. So, with your personal floral and a bridal bouquet, and then the wedding party bouquet, what are some of the trends that you're kind of seeing as it shifts, and what are some things you think are important to include?
Yeah, obviously the most important thing in any wedding is going to be the bridal bouquet. I see some of my couples, they do boutonnieres, some don't. Something that I'm really loving right now is instead of doing boutonnieres, doing a floral pocket square. And so with my
Oh,
boutonnieres, I actually don't use any pins. I use all magnets. So basically, you would have a magnet that you'd put on the inside of your lapel, and then another magnet would stick on. So it's super easy, and it's a way for the groom to have something like a statement floral piece. So it's not just one rose, some greenery, boom.
yeah,
It's definitely more intricate, allows like a little bit more flavor and I think personality to show. So
that's
I'm really loving that. With other personal flowers, another thing that I've seen lately has been bridesmaids doing something different, whether it be a beautiful like corsage or whether it be a floral hoop. I've seen that too. But I would say most of my couples are still sticking to the traditional route of having bridesmaids bouquets, and um, we're seeing flower girls and things like that. We'll usually do flower crowns for them and things like that. So
awesome. So I know some people like to include pets in their wedding ceremony. Are you available to do little collar embellishments
oh
or anything?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've decorated wagons for babies and pets, and we've done floral collars. It's essentially a flower crown just around the collar,
Oh,
which is honestly so cute. Yeah.
I love those extra touches. And now in 2020, it's the opportunity to make it as special as
Yeah,
possible. So
personalize your wedding as much as you want. Make it as awesome as possible.
exactly, exactly. And then for the ceremony, we are seeing all different types of backdrops, arches, aisleways, you
Mhm.
name it. And I feel like a lot of that people can become overwhelmed. So, what is the best way, besides just knowing your venue, to kind of decide what's going to be best for you?
Yeah, I totally think that the venue is one of the most important things when deciding your ceremony floral, because if you, let's say you're getting married in a church and maybe there's already a lot going on in that church, then you might want to go more understated, more simple. Maybe you want to do like two pillars with floral arrangements on top that you can bring to the reception. Maybe something simple for the aisle. If you're getting married, outside, that's a really great opportunity to play off of the outdoor elements. And one of my favorite things right now, and obviously it has to be if your budget allows, but having a growing garden along the aisles, like as you walk and right behind the last row of chairs, basically you're creating like your own garden, which is really cool for Las Vegas because we don't have a ton of gardens. We have, definitely a desert landscape. So I love to see couples that are, creating something new out of their space. But yeah, like I'm really, really loving the growing gardens. We've been doing a lot of like semicircles on the ground. So ground arrangements where it sort of wraps the couple into a little moon shape almost of growing flowers. That's really cool. Um, but yeah, the most traditional thing that our couples do is just having an arch, and we have lots of options. We have a round arch, we have a hexagon arch for like the modern, more geometric couples. We have like a copper pipe arch, which is looks beautiful with a lot of the bohemian styles and modern styles. And then we have a standard arch. So the opportunities and possibilities are endless for ceremony design for sure.
Awesome. I know it's such an important part of the wedding. I think sometimes it gets overlooked, but it's really what everyone's there for, is to see them
Absolutely.
get married. So I'm excited
Absolutely.
to see there's so many options
And
for
you'll
everybody.
have one of my favorite things to tell my couples is wherever you're going to, the picture from your wedding that you're going to hang on your wall. If there's two pictures, you know, think about what that will be and put as much floral in that spot. So you might have, the picture of you two standing getting married. You want that spot to look beautiful. You want your sweetheart table area to look gorgeous. So things like that I
Absolutely.
always recommend for sure.
That's a great tip. It makes a lot of sense. I always say photography is really the only thing you have left afterwards. So capturing the floral within those beautiful moments is perfect. Which, like you mentioned, for the reception, the setup for couples these days, I've seen some that are in a sweetheart table. The longer table is coming back, head table. Some guests are just sitting at a round with, or some are sitting just with other guests at a round. So um,
Yeah.
it's so fun to be able to spice up certain areas. One thing I've seen lately is a nice photo spot for everyone to take
Mhm.
photos, an archway with a sign or something of that. And I know that you offer all of those things. Um, what are some fun touches that you're seeing lately that people are adding to their reception to make it a little different?
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. Having a nice spot to take photo is awesome, and something that we try to do our best with, and as long as it's possible, or the venue allows it, and we can make it work, is we do try to repurpose a lot of the flowers from the ceremony to the reception. If we have an arch that isn't absolutely super heavy that we can move, we'll try to move it to the reception, behind a sweetheart table, or as a photo opportunity. We've even done things where we've brought centerpieces, and even like if you have really beautiful centerpieces and the weather is okay, it's not super hot, sometimes we'll even bring them into the ceremony. We try to make you have as much bang for your buck, because we know it's really important. um, but one cool thing that I have coming up, that I'm really excited about, is I'm going to be doing growing gardens in the reception area around the dance
Cool.
floor. So we're actually creating sort of like a garden around the dance floor. And
That's a
it's going to be awesome because you'll have beautiful photos. They're putting the sweetheart table right next to the dance floor too. So it's like a sweetheart settee. It's going to be gorgeous. So loving people's just random use of flowers. They're like, I want flowers here. I want flowers here. Gardens everywhere. So that's definitely
Yeah.
something that we're loving. And then another thing that's been really cool has been we've been seeing a lot of people take their cake tables and making them very extravagant with florals
Yeah.
all around the cake, and that's always just a beautiful showstopper, especially for that picture of you cutting the cake with, you know, your new spouse. So
Exactly. I know a cake cutting moment is so special. One thing I did want to point out is the toss bouquet. In many years of my experience, the toss bouquet seems to just, they're like, oh, I'll just grab a bridesmaid's bouquet or oh, I'll just do this. And I think it's really important that a toss bouquet is actually an, something that's there and given out, because a lot of times a bridesmaid wants to keep her item, or they weren't doing a traditional toss bouquet. So I believe you always include it in there, and I want to make sure that everybody always thinks about that, because many a times there's a scramble to try and find one. So I'm sure that's
yeah.
always useful too.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if it's just something simple, it's your choice. Some brides, they want to throw it, some don't, and so we always offer it, and it's definitely a great thing to have. And yeah, I totally agree. I think, especially, you know, if you've ever been a bridesmaid, you really do enjoy keeping your flowers. So it's definitely up to you, but we recommend it too.
Yeah, and some people don't agree, don't want to do a toss bouquet. I think something really nice is if you can give it to the couple, you know, give a bouquet to the couple that's been married the longest, or other little touches like that. I think
Yeah,
that's always really fun, and it makes people feel really involved and welcomed into your party. So I think that's
yeah, I
awesome.
love that idea. That's a great idea.
Yeah. So the next thing that we wanted to briefly go over, so here is pricing, mock setup, weather, and timing, and we can just kind of touch on some of those. So pricing originally, we have a lot of detail on this screen, and people will be able to continue to view it. But I know that when I had talked to you about pricing, you said there's no cookie cutter pricing, which I think is fair. So what are some of the things that you're seeing in regards to trends on pricing and where that is kind of going?
Yeah, you know, right now with COVID kind of interrupting weddings as usual, we're definitely seeing smaller weddings, which is great. And so some of my couples are choosing to, they're keeping their budget, and they are, you know, just making their centerpieces gorgeous, like extra, you know, bigger. Maybe they are doing more installations, maybe a better ceremony setup. So that's something that's really awesome. And then there are some people who just want to go simpler. And you know, at Cultivate, like we definitely don't say like, oh, we only do one type of wedding. Like I love small weddings. Like even if it's just you and your spouse at the courthouse with a bouquet, that's awesome, and we celebrate that. And if it's, you know, I've had, you know, 450-person weddings where it's absolutely massive and extravagant. So we're here for it all, for sure. We definitely, on the slide, I put that on average, and this is just kind of an average, a wedding of like 100 people, where there's flowers everywhere, ceremony, reception, bridal party. Typically, it's averaging around a $4,000 starting point. But again, that's not to say that that's what it's going to be for everybody. And it also depends on the style that you want too. You know, there's going to be, like, if you're wanting very bloom forward and bloom heavy wedding, it's going to cost a little bit more than if you're wanting, you know, less, I guess, less
Yeah,
floral. Um, so I definitely always say that every wedding is so different that I don't really have set packages, just
right.
because I've realized that, I mean, in the course of a week, if I hear from, you know, 7 couples, they're it's such a wide range of budget and pricing. So please contact me. There's nothing that's too small. I'll be totally straight up honest with you. I'm not going to take you through, 2 weeks of back and forth emails before I give you a budget. I'm going to tell you, hey, here's sort of what I'm seeing that you want. Here's a ballpark. Is this cool? Would you like to proceed? So yeah, we try to keep it as straightforward as possible.
Perfect. Yeah, so put a mock setup on there, just a brief mention on it. Basically, you'd be happy to set up from as big or as small as they'd like. There's just costs associated with the goods themselves and some of the labor, but of course, we want to make sure that they know exactly what they're getting. But I do know in your proposals, you'll provide images as sort of a guide to what they're going to look like and have an idea of what they're looking to do. And then timing is a key part of that. So as you're starting to book, I think it's important that they think about how long it takes to sort of figure out their guests and everything else, but the floral just as much. And you had mentioned in there that any October and May weddings are quite busy because here, obviously, we know Las Vegas
Mm-hmm.
weather is beautiful then. Um, so for couples that are looking to do a last minute booking, that's something that you can absolutely accommodate, but based on your timing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. If we have the date available, we will do our best working with your planner. I mean, I'm sure you guys can attest to the fact that you've probably had last minute weddings where you're like, all right, it's go time. We're getting it done. So that happens and we're always open to it. But yeah, if it's a popular time to get married, the likelihood of a Saturday wedding in October is probably slim. But, if maybe you want to do a Friday or a Sunday wedding or something like that, um, that can probably be accommodated for sure.
Perfect. And then, as we know, the weather in Las Vegas, like we were just talking about, it has its peaks and valleys, but for the most time, it's really quite beautiful here. So, uh, Sarah listed some of her favorite items that she, or some of her favorite floral based on the time of year on the screen. And I know that some people have a dead set. My favorite flower is the daffodil, which is one of the hardest flowers to ever use. So I can completely understand, but I know that you said that you're welcome to look into any sort of floral that they're looking to use to make their day special.
Yeah, I try not to write off any flower or make a list of, things that I don't think you should have because some flowers do have a lot of significance to people. And so when there is a flower that you love, like let's say it is July and you really want tulips and hydrangeas, um, I will just be honest with you and say, hey, like anything is possible, but it's going to take a lot more care and effort to make it happen. And the likelihood of it standing up to the heat is very, very slim. So I will recommend an alternative, obviously, but flowers are important, just as important to me as it is they are to some couples. Some couples are like, I love this flower; it means so much to me, and so we always try our best to make sure that flower can be a part of your wedding in some way or another. If it's absolutely just not possible, it's not the season, we'll tell you that for sure. But I've sometimes, had flowers flown in from Holland or Japan or Hawaii because they're in season there, but not here. And so obviously the price is going to just be higher. But yeah, we don't like to say no. We like to say maybe.
Yeah, exactly. There's possibility.
Right.
So one other thing that you offer is paper products. So Cultivate Goods is not just floral. You have beautiful options of paper that really brighten up an event and start off the event with something that they're looking forward to. So tell us a little bit. We are running a little on time, but tell us a little bit about your paper options.
Yeah, like I said, before I started being a floral designer, I was a graphic designer. And so I've spent the last 10 years doing brand identities and websites and, yeah, mostly business branding and things like that. But as I got into the wedding industry, I realized just how much I loved wedding stationery. And so I do offer, I accept a handful of clients a year just because I try to balance, both elements of the business. So pretty much, I would say like 99% of the couples that are my paper clients are also my floral clients. And I try to give them, a deal based if you've booked both with me. So yeah, my style is more minimal, modern, but with like a romantic element to it. So please feel free to contact me about that, and I make everything customized for my couples.
And what's better than someone who knows exactly what your wedding's going to look like with floral and design, also do all the paper products? I think it's genius. I think it makes a lot of sense for our couples. Um, so we had a couple questions pre-submitted, which we'll zoom through just so that we don't cut into any time. But some of the other services that you offer, I know that we had talked that you do private event workshops for groups of 10 or more. So just a brief idea of what that looks like.
So yeah, we besides weddings, aside from weddings, we do floral workshops. We'll do baby showers, bridal showers, any corporate events, anything like that. But our bread and butter is definitely weddings. So as far as workshops go, I've had people instead of their bridal party or their bridal shower or baby shower, sometimes they'll do a workshop.
Oh,
So
fun.
it's something for your guests to be able to do. It's really fun. I bring all the supplies, all the flowers, all the vases, everything. All you have to do is show up and you'll leave with something
Yeah.
really beautiful.
That makes so much sense. I think that's so much fun. We already touched on some of the flowers that you are on board for any floral, and like you said, it just really depends on the time of year if it's really doable. But of course, you'll try and make that happen as much as possible. And then the last question that we had submitted is, are you willing to travel? And so just touch on that a little bit. You are open to it, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I love to travel. I've had lots of weddings that have been destination weddings. I will travel wherever you want to have your wedding. Basically, the general idea is that you just have to pay for my transportation and my lodging. I'll take care of food or anything like that. So I just need to have a place to work, and even a hotel room is fine for me. So yeah,
Perfect.
long story short, yes, please hire me for your amazing destination weddings. I would love to be there.
Yeah, no, we're always on board to travel. I think it's so fun. Las Vegas is such a beautiful location, but in case you were doing something outside of that, if you're a Las Vegas local who's looking to travel, it's an option that's spectacular. So thank you so much for joining us, Sarah. We're really excited to have you as part of our wedding team. And then after this, people will be able to go to your website, get to know more details about you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us or Sarah. She is the perfect person for you. Thank you again, Sarah, for joining us.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Bye.
Bye, guys.